Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Johns Hopkins School of Education Doctor of Philosophy and Education virtual webinar. My name is Sion John. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Also presenting today, we have Dr. Mark Stein, Associate Professor and Program Director of the Doctor of Philosophy program at Johns Hopkins School of Education. Before we get started, I would like to cover a few housekeeping topics. First, today's webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. Also, please take a second to see if your mic is on mute right now. Please have your mic on mute at all times during the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Please type your question in the chat box, and Dr. Stein and I will read and answer your questions. Next, I would like to share the agenda for today's virtual webinar. We will kick off the presentation sharing an overview of the Johns Hopkins School of Education. Then Dr. Stein will introduce himself and discuss an overview and details of the Doctor of Philosophy program. Lastly, I'll wrap it up with admissions requirements and leave the floor open for questions at the end. To start, quick facts about Johns Hopkins School of Education. We are one of 9 schools at Johns Hopkins University. We began offering college courses for teachers in 1909 and then became our own school in 2007. For school enrollment, we have approximately 2,600 students. We are proud to share that the Johns Hopkins School of Education is consistently ranked one of the top schools in education by the U.S. News and World Report. At this time, I'm going to hand over the floor to Dr. Stein. He will introduce himself and present on the Doctor of Philosophy program.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for your interest in our program. So that lovely picture is me. I'm an associate professor and director of the program. And I'm also the co-director of the Baltimore Education Research Consortium, which we call BERC, and a bunch of other things. And I tend to study social systems and educational systems and how those things interact and how education policy can help ameliorate differences in outcomes among kids. So if we can, Sion, do I move it forward? There we go. So overall, our program objective, you can read there, but is that by coming here, you'll be prepared to go out and do high quality research and do things that matter for education, be that as a faculty member at a research intensive university or a research scientist type position at various different research firms or governmental agencies or non-governmental agencies such as philanthropies, things like that. And that you'll be able to both conceive of and carry out and execute large-scale education-based research at a high level. So that's the general objective. Our focus of current faculty and students really falls into 3 categories, broad categories of education policy, social context, and the learning sciences. And often many of our faculty and students have overlaps between all or 2 of those. And really, we encourage you to think about what are current faculty doing that intrigues you. How do you see yourself and your interests aligned with faculty that are currently working with the program, and to think about that alignment as you're thinking about applying to the program. So the program itself is structured to be completed in 4 to 5 years. A lot of our recent graduates have finished around 4 to 4.5 years. The program if you are admitted, is the opportunity to be fully funded on a fellowship that includes 4 years of stipend and tuition coverage. We also pay individual health, vision, and dental insurance. And as part of that package, you will also be required to complete 2 teaching assistantships at some point within your time in the program. Generally, we require 72 credits of doctoral level coursework. We do require a master's degree of all students that we admit. That can be any master's degree. Students can also petition 12 credits to be applied to their 72 credit requirement from their master's degree. So what are those 72 credits? 18 of them is in research methods and statistics courses. We have a pretty set progression of these courses that students take. There's also currently 5 core seminars, policy, schools and society, schools as organization are some of those that all students will take. Also 21 credits in some kind of elective area so that you can build up your knowledge base to apply in your research. And then in the last year is 18 hours of dissertation research. We have a fairly common structure to the program, as you'll see in a lot of other programs, in that we have one of the first touch points is a comprehensive exam that has to be completed before the beginning of year 3, and that's the culmination of coursework and a demonstration of your knowledge. The dissertation proposal defense is the second milestone that occurs generally sometime in year 3, by the end of year 3, where you have proposed to a faculty committee your dissertation work and what your trajectory will be for the remainder of the program. And then finally, we have a doctoral dissertation and oral defense that is the culmination of the program, which is in front of faculty. A little information on some of our recent graduates. They have studied a wide range of things. I think you can see from this list, they tend to fall in those 3 focal areas that I mentioned earlier, but they're quite diverse, but they do all tap into some meaningful education problem, ranging from academic outcomes for teenagers that are pregnant and how social networks impact whether those outcomes are positive or negative, down to one of our students harmonized a very large data set from 98 to 2010 to look at graduation rate trends, and did a lot of interesting work there with state accountability and how that impacted graduation rates, down to studying the implementation of a randomized control trial in an urban district where students were given glasses as part of the treatment and looking at the impact of that on student outcomes. So a wide range of great work that our students have been doing. A common question is, where do our students go? I think we have graduated 2 groups of students over the last 2 years, and their destinations have ranged. They're all doing research. Some are working in government agencies, in nonprofit research firms. Some are research scientists at bigger firms that you might have heard of, and some have started going off into postdoctoral positions. And here's some pictures of our current students on the left and our most recent group that joined us this year in our first years. Part of my planning and desire for the program is to create spaces where we can come together as a community. So the picture on the left there is our kind of welcome back orientation period just a couple of weeks ago, where we all come together and have a nice meal together and kind of have a community. We also have a cookout at the end of the year to celebrate the year. So I think that's it for me at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Stein. Moving on to the application requirements. Applicants must submit a completed application, which can be found on our website. Keep in mind there's an $80 application fee when you submit your application. You will need an updated resume, and your personal statement should not exceed more than 750 words. Please visit our website for additional information on the personal statement. In addition to the personal statement, a writing sample must be submitted. A sample of your most professional writing that demonstrates analytic and critical writing skills. Moving on, you should submit 3 letters of recommendation. These letters of recommendation should include at least the following: 2 submitted by faculty members who are familiar with your previous academic work, and 1 by a supervisor or administrator who has been in a position to evaluate your professional development. We also need your official GRE scores and your official transcripts. Please keep in mind we need all official transcripts, including institutions you may have taken courses but did not receive a degree. Again, this is from all post-secondary institutions that you have attended. Lastly, an interview may be required. One more thing to note is that there is a prerequisite for this program: a master's degree from a regionally or nationally accredited college or university. Some important dates to keep in mind. The PhD application is now open for fall 2020 admission. Application deadline is January 31st, 2020. Please keep in mind we need all supporting materials such as your official transcripts and letters of recommendation submitted by this date. There are additional steps you need to take in order to complete the application process if you are an international student. You must submit a TOEFL or IELTS score. If your degree was completed outside the US, you will need to complete a course-by-course evaluation. Additional information can be found on our website. The base tuition for the 2019-2020 academic school year is $43,923. Please note all PhD students at SOE are eligible for a fellowship for up to 4 years. This fellowship includes a yearly living stipend and also cover tuition and fees. The amount of the yearly living stipend will be shared on our website as soon as we finalize details. The fellowship will also cover individual health, dental, and vision insurance. Lastly, you must be registered full-time and be in good academic standing every semester. If you're interested in applying for financial aid, we strongly encourage you to apply for financial aid when you start your application. Please note the recommended submission of the FAFSA application, which is next year, March 15. Please visit our website for additional information on financial aid. If you have any questions relating to your application, please feel free to email or call us. Also, this is the address you would use to send any supporting material such as your official transcripts. If you have any program-related questions, feel free to contact the program academic coordinator, Camila Mika Sims, at this email, and also you can contact her using this phone number. Thank you for attending the Doctor of Philosophy virtual webinar. At this time, Dr. Stein and I would like to open up the floor for questions. So type your questions in the chat box and we will read your questions out loud and answer your questions. So the very first question that I see is, what are alternative writing samples for applicants who are out of school for years and do not have any recent writing sample from past degrees?
So I think one thing to think about in terms of the writing sample for everyone is, writing is one of the core technologies of research and getting a PhD. And so the writing sample, generally speaking, needs to demonstrate the things that we talked about, right? So your analytic capabilities, your ability to demonstrate an argument and draw support for that argument. But very specifically, the writing sample does not have to be from a past degree. It could be, we've had examples from applicants and eventual students that have been teachers for years. And so in the course of that professional work, there is some writing sample that demonstrates those qualities that we talked about. So I would think, it could be anything in your current professional work. Outside of that, certainly things from past degrees that you've produced. Outside of that, we really just want to see your ability to write and express an argument through writing. So figuring that one out, maybe it's writing a specific position paper, I'm not sure.
Thank you. The next question we have is, in regards to transcripts, for international applicants, are there specific transcript and credential evaluation agencies that are recommended or required to use? So if you visit our website, we do have two that are used by our students. The first one is the World Education Services, and the second one is the Foreign Credential Evaluation Reports, ECE. Please visit our website. It'll provide additional information in regards to credential evaluation agencies that we use. Next question that we have from Ashley Barnes: how important is the GRE?
And I think we can combine that with the next one, which is there a minimum score for the GRE? Yeah, so the GRE is a component of a lot of things that we're asking of applicants. It's not the only component by any means, so it is important. There is no minimum, but it is. We get really competitive applicants every single year across all the dimensions. So you need to think about it as one component of a multi-dimension process of admissions.
Next question is the program housed on campus, or are there other satellite campuses?
So the School of Education does have satellite campuses, but the program is all coursework is here at Homewood, the main campus. We have a suite where PhD students have space to study, to talk, to hang out, to do those things. So we are very much at Homewood, and most of our students live close to campus because classes are here, and then a lot of our students have the opportunity to take classes both in public health and up in arts and sciences, and both of those are located in Baltimore. So it's really around here.
Next question we have is from Brittany. Do you have any advice or recommendations on what steps an applicant could take to make their application stand out?
Yeah, so I think a couple of thoughts here. One is, part of the personal statement. I think articulating, we're looking for an ability to not know all the answers, obviously, because you wouldn't need this program if you had that, and I don't know if that's possible. But we're looking for an ability to articulate an educationally meaningful problem that, the way I express it to a lot of my students is, what's the thing that keeps you awake at night, or that wakes you up in the morning and it's like, I got to figure that out. But that is also, we want you to demonstrate your interest in doing rigorous, high quality research. And as a school of education, we get applicants and students from a wide range of experiences. So, interacting those things with your own experience, but also being able to project out, this problem I'm articulating, how is it more broadly meaningful both to practice, the world of education practice, but also to theoretical and conceptual academic considerations. So you want to think those things through and be able to begin to articulate some of those things in like your personal statement. And I think another one is we are a very small program. We take around 6 students a year. We took 8 last year. And as a small program, we're very concerned about students completing the program. We take 6 and we expect to complete 6. And part of that component is looking across faculty that are heavily involved in the program as well as more generally in the school, and doing the work of thinking who can I work with, whose work aligns with the kinds of things that I'm interested in, that might be not exact or maybe pretty close, but I could see myself working on those types of questions for the next 4 to 5 years. And I think that finding that fit and articulating that fit, I think, is really important. And a key component of that is reach out to that faculty member. Ask them questions, see if they're available to have a conversation with you, either through email. A lot of our faculties will, finding the time to talk to you on the phone, or go back and forth on email. So don't hesitate to reach out to those faculty. I think those are a couple of ideas to think about.
Thank you. Our other questions, how important is experience in education?
I don't know that it's the end all be all. Most of our students, I'm trying to think, have some experience in education, but they're not all former classroom teachers. And we can broaden the term education. Education occurs in a lot of different spaces. Some of our current first-year students came out of development, international development work, and there are educational components certainly in that. So is it, disbars you if you don't have experience in education? I would say no. There's a lot of components here, and I think but it is important to articulate educationally meaningful questions and problems that you're interested in.
The next question we have is, where can I find the information about current PhD students in the Instructional Design and Online Teaching and Learning program?
I don't know that we don't have students there's not a separate program for PhD students by that name, which might be why it was hard to find. Yeah, I don't have an answer to that because we don't have a separate program track. We don't have tracks within the PhD program.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And the next question is, how important is it for the applicant's academic interests to align with faculty's expertise or ongoing research project?
I think it's important. I don't think it's the end all be all, and I think it doesn't have to be completely in line, but it should be relatively close. And I know that probably sounds funny, but yeah, it's important. You want to be able to see a place where you're like, yeah, I want to go after those types of questions. I want to learn from that faculty member how they do that. So read some of their work. And see if that's the kind of stuff you want to do. And I think looping back to the previous question, I think that's part of our EdD program, the Instructional Design and Online Teaching, not the PhD program.
And we have a question from Lindsay. How certain must I be about my dissertation topic during the application process? I assume the expectation is that I would know the general area, but not have my question topic at this point in the process. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I hope you don't have your dissertation topic all worked out yet. I think having a general direction and being able to articulate that is very important. My expectation is if we don't expose you to different ideas and different people and different aspects of educational research enough to kind of drift the idea you come in with is probably not going to be the one you leave with. And I think we haven't done our job if if that doesn't happen. So yeah, articulate a general idea. Try to put some substance to it. Articulate what that problem is, and then kind of discuss how getting a degree, a research-intensive PhD, will help you begin to do work that hopefully provides some semblance of an answer to those questions. I think that's the important part.
All right, do we have any additional questions? If so, please type them in the chat box, please. Okay, so it looks like there are no more questions. Thank you again for your interest in the Johns Hopkins School of Education. We look forward to hearing from you and have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much for your time, Dr. Stein.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.